Hi everyone, I'm Pinky Hoot. Have you ever wondered if student grade watercolor and professional watercolor really makes a difference? And if the professional watercolor paint really justifies the price tag? Someone asked me this question recently on my live stream, and I thought, hey, I think I want to know that too. So in today's video, we're going to do a little bit of comparison. We're first going to do a swatch test, and then we're going to use these two sets of paints to paint two identical watercolor artwork and see how they are different in actual practice. And if you are here watching, don't forget to hit that like and subscribe button. So we have two sets of paint here. The top row is a professional grade watercolor I use. It's from Holbein, the Holbein Watercolor collection. And then the bottom row is a student grade watercolor from Winsor Newton, the Cotman Watercolor collection. The bottom row, this came as a set, and I don't have the exact same color in my Holbein watercolor collection, so I picked the closest color, except for ivory black and burnt umber. They're exactly the same, but I'm sure we'll be able to tell the difference in our swatch test. Okay, I just squeezed out all the paint I want to use today on this palette. Left side here is a student grade watercolor, the Cotman collection from Winsor Newton. And then the right side here is the Holbein watercolor, the professional grade one. And then here, the top one is student grade and the bottom is a professional grade. So let's not forget that. And next, we're going to do a swatch test. The way I did those swatch cards was I kind of did each color in thirds. First, I will load my brush with the paint color and then paint a little square or rectangle. And then I wash my brush with a clean brush. I drag the paint to the second third. And then I wash my brush again with a completely clean brush. I did the last third. So the paint will have a chance to spread all the way to the right side and to have that gradient. So a few minutes has gone by now. My swatch card here is completely dry. So now let's take a look. The top row here is our student grade, the Winsor Newton Cotman collection. And then the bottom row here is my Holbein watercolor, the professional grade watercolor. Immediately, I noticed that the professional grade watercolor has way better color coverage. And the second thing I noticed that was the color started spreading. It wants to go all the way till the end, pretty much until the water dried. It just kept on running, especially the brown here, black here. Whereas the student grade watercolor, I can see that it's trying to do that, but it didn't have enough pigment in the paint so that it tried to spread, but it didn't quite go to the end. And in some cases, it actually did the opposite. The water actually was more overpowering than the paint, so it started actually running backwards. And it's pretty evident in all the colors, with the exception of yellow. Actually, the yellow paint actually did pretty well in both cases. Now we know how the paint looks on a swatch card. Let's put them to test. I just set up my two identical paintings, and as you guys can see, I have prepared two separate mixing palettes and two different set of brushes. I'm going to try my hardest to make sure that the professional grade and the student grade paint don't mix with each other. So let's get started. Okay, I am done with both paintings. So I tried my hardest to make sure that they are as identical as possible, but obviously it's two separate paintings that I just hand painted now. So there are subtle differences, but for our comparison purposes, they're perfectly fine. And also I did not use any additional paint besides what I have on my palette because I don't have the same color in both kinds of paint. So I just stuck with what I have and it actually turned out pretty cool. Right off the bat, I noticed that the professional grade paint is more brilliant, it's brighter, it pops out at you more, whereas the student grade paint is slightly more dull, it's not as saturated as the professional grade, but the student grade paint actually looks great if I'm not comparing side by side. And the second thing I noticed was that when I was painting, the professional grade paint definitely makes that fracture of watercolor when it spreads either into water or into another paint, where the student grade paint doesn't really do that. It did like once or twice, but not consistently. I'm actually super surprised by the outcome of the student grade paint because I was imagining it to be way worse. So I realized that once you pass a certain proficiency level, certain skill level, the paint quality itself becomes secondary, actually. It's your technique, your control over the paint and water that matters the most. So all those times when I first started watercolor and I blamed the paint for all my bad paintings, and after today's exercise, I realized maybe it was not the paint. Maybe it was just, my skill level wasn't there. So something to think about if you want to switch to professional grade paint or brushes or whatever right off the bat, maybe that's not necessary. So yeah, I think when it comes down to choices, when it comes down to if the professional grade is worth the money or should you go with just the cheaper part, I think my take is that if you're someone who values the nature of the medium watercolor with all the fractures and textures and how easy they blend, then I think you have to kind of go with the professional grade paint, because the student grade paint just doesn't do that. But if you're an artist who uses watercolor to color in your illustrations or give your other work some color, some shadow, some more interesting details on top, then I don't know if professional grade is something that you necessarily have to have, because the student grade watercolor does all that just fine. Okay, I hope my exercise today was helpful to you. I hope that you learned something, discovered something new about watercolor paint, whether it's student grade or professional grade. And if you have any other questions that I didn't answer today, make sure you drop that in the comment section. If you enjoyed today's video and found what I did helpful in any way, I would love for you to leave a comment, hit that like button, and don't forget to subscribe to my channel for more content like this. Thank you so much for watching.